Let's pray. Father, we do thank you that we have someone who has drawn close to us, who became a person just like us. We sing to him, we sing thank you to him, we praise Jesus, but through him we approach you and say, Father, thank you. Thank you for sending yourself. Thank you for sending God yourself to earth here as a man. Thank you for opening our eyes by your Spirit to see your Son, to draw near to you, Father. A work that you have done. Praise be to your name. We sit here now, Lord, saying, will you teach, will you build us up and draw us to walk after you? We have experienced marvelous blessing from you. We are your people here. We are saved. And now we want to walk after you. And so what we're asking now is, will you send your Spirit and teach? Mature us, grow us up. And towards that end, open the passage in front of us and make clear the words in it and help us to understand them in our minds and then move us to follow. Make it clear, Lord. Open your word, teach, build your church for our good and for your glory. Thank you. Amen. A Christian stands in a uniquely difficult position, straddling a divide with a foot, if you will, in two different realms. We are people, we're alive here on the earth just like everybody else. And so, here, we are engaged in all the affairs of this kingdom of the world, deeply, thoughtfully, lovingly so. And we use all the different gifts that are available to us, all the resources provided, given by God, in fact, to be used and often to be enjoyed. So we're fully engaged here. We live here. But we sort of don't. Because, as Jesus has been repeatedly reminding us here in this extended teaching that we call the Sermon on the Mount, we are in fact citizens of the kingdom of heaven, also right now. And so while we do live here in the world, we have one foot in that realm, we also, right now, parallel alongside of it, right with it, we are living right now as citizens in a spiritual kingdom, the kingdom of heaven. It exists right now, and, very importantly for today's passage, on into eternity forever. One of these kingdoms falls away and perishes, and the other one doesn't. We live in the kingdom of heaven, and that's therefore the one we must see. We must remember that one. We must live for that one. And remembering that kingdom citizenship that we have, remembering that lasting, heavenly, eternal home will give us a different perspective on how we deal with this kingdom of earth and how we interact with the things that are in it. On the other hand, forgetting it, not hoping in that kingdom, not seeing that will lead us into the very same this worldly focus that everybody else on the world on this earth can't live without. The world has only one time and one place to live for, here and now. And so much of the world's energy and its anxiety is invested in acquiring a life here and now and then trying to hold on to it. It's the reason for so much trouble that we see around us. So much of the division that we see around us now is because increasingly people are realizing that they only have this here and now to live for, and if that's where you are, you're going to be sold out for this. If you forget another kingdom and forget where your real citizenship lies, you'll be stuck just here in the same problem with the world, stuck in worldliness. And that's a danger to us who are Christians, a real danger to us. And so, Because we have this higher and better and lasting kingdom, we can't see it. We find it very easy to doubt what we can't see, to forget what we can't see, and to live for the here and now kingdom. And Jesus knows that full well, and therefore has brought to us a warning and an encouragement, but a warning. In the passage that we're going to look at today, in the second half of Matthew chapter 6. It's a warning and it's an encouragement. This week and the passage that follows, we're going to see Jesus warn us first, alert us to a problem, and then encourage us as he puts in front of us truth about this kingdom and this kingdom citizenship, this kingdom of heaven, where we really live. He's going to put it in front of us and call us to trust Him, to believe that He's the God who can deliver, who delivers what we need now, here, shapes how we live now, here, and on into the eternity that comes. So it's a warning and it's an encouragement. That's what we're going to be looking at this morning. Matthew chapter 6. Let me read the passage 19 to 24, draw out two observations from it. Begins in verse 19. Jesus said, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money." Our passage for today. Two observations. Here's the first. God's people should invest our resources looking for heavenly kingdom gain. God's people should invest our resources looking for heavenly kingdom gain. That's the thrust of what Jesus is getting at in verses 19 and 20. A command that flows very neatly out of the argument about hypocrisy that was in the first part of this chapter. You'll recall what was the problem with the hypocrites that he mentioned several times? Well, they appeared to be about the kingdom of heaven, but they were in fact about themselves, and they were seeking the praise that would come from people in the here and now, here on this earth. And Jesus said, you can seek that, and you will get it, and that is all you will get, nothing that lasts. And coming right out of that then, out of that flow, what's next? Verse 19, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth. Don't just invest your resources, whatever they may be, time, talent, energy. In this context, we should be thinking particularly about material goods and money. That's where Jesus ends, the dichotomy, God and money. But whatever your resource, whatever it is that you have, don't invest your resource just to gain treasures, benefits, here on earth. This is an emphatic call, stated in absolute terms, as is Jesus' custom. Which, let's just get the important disclaimer right out of the way first, and it is important, so I'm going to say it so that you hear me say this. This actually is true. Jesus' absolute statements are not ever meant to be taken to some extreme, unbiblical, ridiculous place. The Bible does often tell us a lot more that would relate to this. The things here on earth are, most of them, not in themselves sinful. The things here on earth that we interact with, all of our resources, they are many times given to us by God to be enjoyed. Saving up the things that you have, storing up treasure, to have them to share with somebody else, to pass them on to children, that's commended in the Bible. And sometimes a Christian or a Christian organization will have to save up a whole truckload of money if you're going to do some big thing later. Many, many other biblical truths that could be stated and must be kind of kept in mind here. Storing up treasure here, in some sense, is okay. There, I've said it. That's not what we're going to talk about. Because Jesus' extreme absolute statement goes in the other direction, because that's usually all that we talk about. That's what we want to keep front and center. It is okay to store up treasure, and these are blessings from God. And Jesus is going to say something emphatic, other. He's got a point to make. And in fact, your translation may even put it in a way, this could be rendered, stop laying up for yourselves. Because the language indicates that Jesus thinks something has to change in his listeners. Notice carefully, though, what needs to change is not that his listeners, and remember, that's us, disciples. He's talking to the church, to Christians. This is the danger that we have. There's nothing in here about how to become a Christian. There's nothing here about if you do this, then you get to heaven. If you do this, then God will reward you with eternal life. This is written to people who already are his people, and it's about how to live then as his people. He's writing to us, and there's a danger here for us. His extreme language is coming at us, but the problem is not that we are living using the resources that we have to store up treasure for ourselves. We're supposed to do that, in fact. How many times in this chapter have we seen Jesus talk about reward? God wants us to be aware that our actions often will lead to reward, not things that are earned, but things that are graciously given. He says, this path will lead you to something profitable. I want you to walk down this path. So he's got reward out there in front of us. The problem is not that we are using our resources to gather up treasure for ourselves. The problem is where. Where's the treasure located? What realm is it a treasure in? The kingdom of this world or the kingdom of heaven? All people invest their resources, whether it's in accumulating money or what money buys, cars and houses and vacations, or if it's really the lifestyle that you're after when you use the money to buy the car and the house and the vacation. Everybody does that. But when you do that here on earth, thinking that you will find a life in those things that you acquire, a life here and now, some sort of life of delight and pleasure and ease trapped here on this earth, what you're doing is seeking a treasure on earth. And Jesus says that's all going away. Guys, wake up, it's all going away. Hear this. Guys, wake up, it's all going away. That's what he's getting at with the mention of moth and rust and thieves. Cars rust. Fashion fades and houses fall apart and relationships end and people die. It's all going away. All earthly treasures, just like so many sandcastles built on the beach waiting for the tide to come in, and so much of the world's anxiety, its angst, its frustration, is trying to hold back the ocean to protect its treasures. It's futile. But in a very real sense, it's completely understandable, because if you're the world, that's all you got. What are we doing in that spot? It has to stop. Heavenly treasures are so different than that. This is all going away, and that lasts forever, safe and secure. That's what we should be sure to see and sure to live for and sure to store up our hope and blessing for, to take deliberate aim at investing all that you have here now in something that lasts, that goes on into eternity, to seek the life that is there, to seek the treasure, the benefit, the reward, the hope that is in the place that is to come and is unperishable. Use the material to store up something that is immaterial and lasting. That's clearly the point. He states it one way and then almost verbatim states it in exactly the opposite way. Clearly the point. And there's not a lot of detail there, right? How exactly do I do that? What do you mean by that? Well, it doesn't say. I think, though, that if we'll stop for just a second and give a little bit of personal thought to your own life, it's not hard to fill in the blanks. Probably we each need to check how we spend our actual money. Again, the disclaimer is real. Buying a house and a car and a vacation, that's fine. That's fine. Saving up to do it is fine. Why are you doing it? No text can answer that for you, but you should ask that for yourself, of yourself. Why am I doing this? What am I chasing with this? Where do I think I'm going to find a life? Am I doing this as something to enjoy and use and delight in, or am I doing this because this is my hope? The good life now. You have to check you. But check your money. And I think also, for a lot of us, check your time. For a lot of us, money is not the tightest resource. Time is. It is very, very easy to invest all of our time in the chasing after, in the engaging of the jobs and the leisure activities that this world offers, and you just don't have the time to do for what lasts forever. Now, of course, then doing those things, pursuing those jobs, engaging in those leisure activities could very well be the things that God gives you to enjoy, could very well be what you use to leverage them for eternal gain. Of course, yeah, you have to check you. I can't tell you that. No text can tell you how you're using your time and where you're chasing a life with your time. I can't tell you that. But check. Because Jesus is putting right in front of us something that probably has to change. We are most inclined to spend our resources, to invest them in the life that is here and now that we can see, and we very easily forget what is to come. It is hard to believe that a billion years from now, you'll wonder why you wasted the resource on the car you bought. But you will. You will. That's what Jesus is saying. Something lasts and something doesn't. You check you. Now, I don't know how that feels to you. I'm sure it's familiar to you. If you're a Christian, you've heard something like that before, it's familiar to you. I find that a little bit convicting, but mostly encouraging, because the bent of it is like a financial advisor telling you where the home run investment is. Like, take your money out of the sand and put it in the stock. It's going up. It has to go. It's going up. It's going up. That's good news for you. So I find this a little bit convicting. Maybe you find it convicting in some way, but be encouraged by that also. God is putting in front of us something. Jesus is speaking about, this has to change, son. This has to change, daughter, for your good. Really, for your good. Eternal reward. Treasures that don't perish. Come and get it. So, I interact with this passage like that. Maybe you interact with it now like that. I can kind of draw a gentle line under it right there. I can say, okay, I get that much point. I hear that. Now, the next sentence changes things a little bit. And I think, for me at least, from this point, things get harder. Because, foreshadowing here, this is going towards 24-25. It's hard to see how it is, but it's going towards 24-25. And Jesus knows that. And to help us, he speaks verse 21. 21, don't store up treasure on earth, but store them up in heaven. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. A lot of folks look at that passage and understanding Biblically speaking, the heart is like the control center of a person. They understand that and they read that verse and they say, so what he means is, if my heart is in heaven, controlling me, my heart will direct my resources towards heavenly things, towards the kingdom of heaven. Okay, and that's true, but that would be more like if Jesus said, where your heart is, there your treasure will be also. See that? But he said the opposite. What he actually said was the opposite. And I think he does that to try to help us see something, because so much is at stake by the time we get to 24, 25. So let me back into this, explain what I think he's getting at, and let me back into it using an illustration that I do not mean as an indictment of anybody. Did everybody hear me say that? I do not mean as an indictment of anybody. Everybody, you got to check you on everything. I'm not checking you. I'm not trying to indict anybody here. This is an illustration, and it's true. Okay. I have never daydreamed about the beautiful, relaxing view from the deck on my vacation home. Never. And I've never worried about anybody breaking into it while I'm away. And I never had to buy a security system for it, never had to insure it. I never have worried about storms ripping off the shingles. When all the forest fires that are coming will consume the West here, I've never worried about it being caught in all those fires and burned down. And so I've never had to spend my day off driving there to check on it or to fix a problem that's there. Because I don't have a vacation home. Follow that? I don't have that treasure. So my heart never goes there. If you want to avoid worrying about vacation homes, don't buy one. That's what Jesus is saying. It's true, for sure, our hearts direct where our resources go, but our treasures also direct where our hearts go. Treasures pull your heart, you realize. That's what he says exactly. He's trying to help us here, help us to shape our hearts. What we put in there, what we dwell on, what we fixate on, what we dream about and gaze at, that becomes the narrative inside of you. If you make a decision to buy a vacation home, you are pre-making 100 other decisions also. Financial decisions, time decisions, enjoyment decisions, pleasure decisions, all kinds of other decisions, mental energy decisions. Pre-making all those things, you're choosing. Now, this is not an indictment of anybody. Vacation homes can be wonderful blessings from the Lord for you to enjoy. Absolutely. Vacation homes can be wonderful gifts given to you to leverage for the use of kingdom purposes. I myself and my family have benefited. I tried to think of the list. I stopped at about 10. From at least 10 different people in our church over the years who have let us use or invited us to their vacation homes. I planned out the Deuteronomy series in somebody's condo that they weren't living in at the time. And I think that those people have gained for themselves heavenly treasure in utilizing that. Right? Yeah. And I picked that illustration on purpose because we also all know that vacation homes can be just selfish, indulgent wastes. Right? Luxury lifestyle, that's American for selfish, indulgent waste. Right? A vacation home could be any one of those things. You judge you. I'm not. But the point of the illustration is, treasures draw our hearts to them. You buy stock in a company, and suddenly you watch all the news from that company, and you are really worried about their new product releases and who they hire as CEO. Otherwise, you don't care. You got a kid in the military, and suddenly you care very much about where the government sends the military to do what? Your treasures pull your heart. They draw your attention. Or to flip it around, our invested treasures shape our decision-making center. Our decision-making center for sure shapes where we invest, but the treasures also shape the decision-making center. And Jesus knows our hearts are prone to wander and be reactive to all the offers, all the temptations, all the false promises in the world. So what he's saying is, you need some help here. So let me advise you, make a deliberate decision to change your investment strategy. Divest yourself. Offload some things so that you stop worrying about them. Stop giving attention to them. Which ones? Maybe not the vacation house, or maybe so. You judge you. Right? You evaluate that for yourself. But what he's saying is, I tell you the truth. How you're made, I know I made you. How you're made is that your treasures will draw you. So look right now, which are the ones that you're chasing after for earthly treasure, the earthly benefit, the earthly life, the best life now. Find them, divest yourself of them, because that'll create some opening that maybe something else will come in and fill. The second point. Hear that. Maybe make some decisions then. Stop storing up treasure on earth. It'll provide room for your heart to be shaped heavenward, and that's really important, as the second observation reveals. Here's the second point. Be very deliberate to fix your attention on God's kingdom promises. The thing that comes in to fill. When you've divested, you create a hole. Be very deliberate to fix your attention on God's kingdom promises. As we move to verses 22 and 23, Jesus uses what a lot of people regard as a pretty confusing metaphor here. And it is a little bit, partially because we don't use this kind of language in the same way that they did. He says, the eye is the lamp of the body. And he does not mean lamp like headlights on a car, like shining out. He means it the other way. They're lights shining in. The lamp of the body, it's shining in. That follows with, so if your eye is healthy, it'll be shining into you light. And then your whole body will be full of light. It gets a little bit confusing because he's about to talk about light, dark light. So maybe if you change it to be a fountain, it'll make a little more sense. If your eyes are the fountain, and if it's healthy, in fact it says, if it's singular, if it's pure, what'll be pouring into you will be pure water, and you'll be full of pure water. But if it's polluted, if it's bad, if your eye is bad, literally it's evil, then what'll be pouring into you is polluted water, and what'll fill you up inside is dark water. Light or dark. Good water, bad water. One or the other. And as again, a little bit of foreshadowing, don't you want to kind of ask, how about a little bit of each? A little bit of good water and a little bit of bad water. Can't we be that? No. That's where this is going. No. Come to that in a second. Sticking here for a moment, obviously we have to control the eye. That's going to determine what I'm full of on the inside. I've got to control the eye. Is it going to be good or bad? So what are you filling yourself with? That much is clear. But some have wondered, why Jesus brings this up right here. Well, I think he's just taking the statement that we just saw in verse 21 and adding to it, enhancing it. If treasure pulls your heart and thereby shapes you, we just talked about. Another further way of saying that would be what you set your eyes on, what you set your gaze on, what draws your attention, that pulls your heart too. What you spend time looking at, physically even, but also metaphorically, what you spend your time looking at comes into you, fills you, forms you, shapes you. That's a general truth. Now, probably in a lot of Christian circles, when we talk about that, we usually then talk about something evil. And it's pretty natural to put pornography in right here, or something sexual. If you spend your time looking at that, then it's going to come in and ruin you. And so we talk about making a covenant with your eyes to not look on that. That's all very true. That is very true. Not what he's talking about here. Remember, the context is about the resources, and he's going towards money. He's talking about good things, in fact, the things that are here on earth that are not sinful. Setting your eyes on them, fixing your gaze on them. If you spend all of your leisure time reading lifestyle magazines, what will happen to you? You will be drawn to a lifestyle. And you will begin to think that a $15,000 couch is reasonable. And a kitchen that looks like that is what everybody has, right? That's wonderful. And you will begin to, and you will want, and you will think this is appropriate. If you spend all of your leisure time daydreaming about, reading about, and planning for the next vacation to X, then you will be drawn to live there. Can't not be. What you shine into you through your eyes, what you fix your attention on, will fill you and will shape you. Now, again, fashion is fine. Lifestyle is most lifestyle is neutral. Cars are okay. Vacations are sure. You judge you. The general truth is, it will come in and it will shape you. And watch out, end of verse 23. If the light that is in you, he's talking to Christians here, if the light that is in you, all this is fine. It's just light that's shining. And I'm looking at cars because cars are fine. They're good gifts from God. They're things to be enjoyed. I'm planning vacations. I'm looking at fashion and kitchens and it's all good. I have it under control. I am in hot pursuit of God still. I'm thinking about how to enjoy all of His delightful gifts. And if the light that's in you, this is light, is actually darkness, and you're fooling yourself, how dark is that darkness? Because you're calling it light. You think you're okay, and you're not. You're totally deceived. That's dangerous. Watch out. That's serious darkness that you, Christian, don't even see. You call it light. That's serious because in the end, this comes down to the issue of who actually is God of us. 24 and 25. This is kind of coming down. It's going to go. 24 and 25 makes clear that this is an either-or situation. It is serious that you be a Christian and you be a person who's saying, like, I am about heaven. I am storing up treasure in heaven. I am in pursuit of God, and not be. My treasure is either in heaven or it isn't. What he wants us to think from 24 and 25. So my heart is either in heaven or it isn't. The eye lamp shines in heavenly light or it shines in the world. And so my being is either godly, living by faith in what is to come, or it is evil and worldly, living by faith in what's here. I serve either God or wealth. The Lord is my God, or His gifts are. I trust in either the future grace won for me by Christ at the cross and promised to come to me fully in heaven by God, or I trust in the future grace promised me by the stuff on earth and all the shiny flash. Either or. You can't serve both. This is Jesus talking to the church. It's time to stop the love affair with the world. And for my money, this suddenly gets heavy. Because I'm in love with the world. I love the stuff here on the earth. You do you and I'll do me. And when I do me, I look at it and say like, oh dear. Yeah. That's true of me. I use the stuff here. I bet you do too. Something has to stop. I bet you do. I use the stuff here. We use the stuff here to chase life here because we forget the kingdom that's right here and is coming. And what we can't see, we easily doubt, but what's right in front of us, front and center, earthly kingdom. It's easy to see, it offers all kinds of shine, and it's easy to trust in. It's so attractive. It's a great danger, though. We can talk about other people for a minute. Have you not seen people in the church, not us, other people for a minute, who are saying they're walking in the light in pursuit of God, but you look at them and you say, I don't know how you can say that. You are up to your eyeballs in the world. It's sometimes easy to see it in other people. We can talk about them to identify it. Okay, so is that you or me? We're in an either-or situation. And Jesus makes that clear by using the language of slave and master. No slave is owned by two masters. We're all slaves owned by somebody. And Jesus says it's either or to the church. You know what that's like when you see that Christian. You see this is a person who's walking in the world and is maybe on the surface all chipper and full of wonder and thankfulness to God for all the things they've given him, given her, maybe given them as a family. And you kind of say there's no spiritual vitality, but there's no depth there. And when all that stuff rusts, crumbles, gets stolen, collapse will follow. You know it. You watch it happen. Jesus is calling us here for our good. This is firm. But he's calling us for our good because he's not just saying, this is going to pay off for you forever. He's saying, this is going to pay off for you right now. The path to stable, solid Christian life is not worldliness. It's godliness. Come live life with God and stand. That's what we want. And so he sees this great danger. He knows we're going to be tempted, so he points us out and calls us to take action like a Christian would, to believe God's promises of the worth of heavenly treasure, of the beauty of God. And maybe a way you can help yourself with that is to fast. I wonder why that was right before this passage. To set aside the gifts for a moment and focus on the giver. Maybe that's a way that you can actually take some action to set your mind on, to set your attention on the promises of God and all that He is for you. But He wants us to take action to make sure that we shine into our lives what is true. Set aside if, whereas you are seeking earthly treasure, and shine in then what is true, and embrace it believing. To live by faith, not by sight. To live by faith in what God has promised, the treasure that is kept for you in heaven. Imperishable, undefiled, unfading. That's what He calls us to. And has not He already acted consistently, saying to you, you can trust me. I know the message of the world is very inviting, but you can trust me. Why? Why do you know you can trust Him? Your mind should run somewhere right away. Where should it run? To the cross and to the empty tomb. I know I can trust Him because the Father abandoned the Son so as to deliver to me. The Father turned His face away from the Son so as to turn His face towards me. He shut up the door to the Son to open it to me. That's why I know I can trust Him. The whole point of God's work in all of history is to deliver to me. To deliver to me Himself for forever. God's point in all of history, Christian, is to deliver to you. To deliver you, but that's to deliver to you Himself. Not a car or a mansion or a vacation, Himself. And with Him all things. Whatever it is that you need. But Himself. Now and for forever. Christ came and went to the cross so as to remove off of you the thing, sin, guilt, condemnation, the thing that would keep you from God and keep you from heaven and keep you from eternal riches. He came and died to remove that off of you, to rise and deliver you and to deliver to you an inheritance eternal. You can trust Him. When He says, stop storing up, stop living as if that's not true of you, stop living for the here and now. Use the here and now, but use it to live for then. When He says that'll pay off for you, He can be trusted. When He says He has your good in mind, He can be trusted. When He says He loves you, He can be trusted. To serve God and not money, to serve that master, is the good life here and now and for forever. Blessed are you who are poor in spirit, who mourn. Blessed are you who hunger and thirst after righteousness, the good life. Why are you blessed? Because you have the good life. Walk in it. Trust Him. Let me pray. Father, help us. Help us with all the details. Help us with the evaluation of ourselves. It gets really tricky, Lord, because we see good things that we enjoy. It gets tricky to evaluate if we enjoy them too much or instead of you. So speak and help. Would you speak like a good father with children that you love? Speak wisdom, speak care. But I'm just thankful, Lord, that you speak, that you point out to us dangers, and that you call us into the direction in which life can be found. So help us walk that way, Lord. Draw near, please. Thank you. Amen.